GM fam, let's do this. I will not. I will not hold it against anybody if there's absolutely nobody that shows up after this past week in crypto, which has felt like about the past year in crypto. I could very easily see if people are just done. If you want to put on your suits and go become bankers, I get it. This has not been a sterling week for cryptocurrency, and it's going to have repercussions that are going to last for a very long time. So it would be very sad if we lose all of you. But we hope that there are some of you who are interested in drowning your sorrows. Please, if you're interested in joining, come on by. We have the wide open. Oh, here we go. There's a few of us left. NPC 69 Puffer. Welcome, friends. How are you all doing?
Doing good, doing good.
Yeah, for reals.
All things considered, all things considered. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I have to admit, I have no money in FTX, so I'm not terribly worried about that. But I just get the feeling that this is going to be a black eye on crypto for some time. I think it's going to be pretty sad. NPC 68 and NPC 69. Man, we got a great collection there. Let's see if we can get all 8,000 NPCers in here.
Yeah, it's sad. Very sad time.
Yeah, I mean it's I've been trying to look at the bright side of it. Certain advantages I see to it is it's better we got SPF out of the space now than 5 years from now. Because the magnitude of what he was doing, what an awful toxic person to have in the space. And to be LARPing for all of his effective altruism on top of all that. I just
Yeah.
who do you all think is worse at this point? If you have to pick between, let's say, Do Kwon, Jusu, and SBF, which one of those three is the worst?
It's crazy that they're all on the run. Aren't they all on the run and not caught? So
Do.
wild, man. It's like a movie.
I mean, for what it's worth, Do says he's not actually on the run. Do says that he is he's just getting too many death threats from people that he needs to conceal his location. So he says that he's not in the run. He's cooperating with the authorities, but he is just kind of keeping his location hidden to journalists because he doesn't want his family to come under threat. That sounds like something his lawyer told him to say. Which, if his lawyer's advising him, if it's gotten so bad that his lawyer is suggesting that he flee, then that's really bad. But I get the impression that he's not actually on the lam. SPF, I have no idea. I imagine he's still in the Bahamas. And is it true that they have some sort of parlor of iniquity, or is that just exaggeration?
Like he put on like a they put on like a charade that with the Camry and everything, but it's like what if you think about it, why wouldn't all the top employees be in a mansion in the Bahamas? It makes sense. They all slept at the office in weird bean bags. Why wouldn't they all be having this weird relationship in a mansion? If you really think about it, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I get it. So, I mean, I imagine the
It's just
Bahamas.
I would never want to do that, but it just seemed the way they were operating is so weird.
It's pretty weird. And what's kind of wild about it is that, we're not going to, this is not the last we're going to see of SBF. I'm sure that in 5 years' time, if not faster, he's going to be back and doing something. Who knows what? We already saw Martin Shkreli was 5 years ago, and he appeared on the Up Only podcast, which was actually quite a fun one to listen to.
That was so crazy watching that. That was so crazy.
Yeah. Welcome, Llama Del Rey. Got a good turnout going on here. I guess there's a few of us still left licking our wounds. Looks like it's just Puffer and I that are willing to have our voices doxed at least. If you all aren't talking because you need like voice synthesizer software, let us know. We can give you some recommendations so you can like synthesize your voice, and it makes it a little bit tougher for authorities to crack down on you all. They might have their hands full with SBF for all I know, though. Like the SEC is now opening an investigation, and that's going to be really entertaining when they investigate SBF and realize that SBF was in cahoots with Gensler. So I don't know how that investigation.
Like very interesting. It's like very interesting development. Makes a lot of sense, I guess. I don't know.
And the chef's kiss on all of this is that the Senate is still pushing forward with the legislation that SBF was pushing.
Right. I heard that, or I kind of saw that maybe is 0 chance of passing. But do you know anything of its chances of passing?
We don't even know who's going to be in the Senate yet. I mean, we don't know who's going to control the House, who's going to control the Senate. Like, it's, as far as I can tell, wide open. Even if either party gets whatever the constitution of it, it's going to be so narrowly divided that like a handful of senators or representatives could flip. The good news is, like, it looks like all the pro crypto people got through. So like Tom Emmer was one that was kind of interesting because he's like the best in terms of crypto policy. But he's like really at odds with kind of like the new like Trump type Republicans. So the Trump Republicans hate Emmer, but it looks like they didn't do super well in the election, so they don't have as much power. But they're still trying to get Tom Emmer ousted because he was part of the NRCC, which was responsible for like giving funds to candidates. So the Republicans are like in civil war because the NRCC only gave funds to like the non-Trump candidates, and then they end up losing, and like they're all like fighting. So the Republican Party is like almost more of a mess. And if there's any silver lining, like the craziness with the election this week is almost overshadowing some people's like attention on the whole SBF thing. But I mean, Thanksgiving's coming up. We're all going to have to go and talk to our families, and they're going to be saying like, "Are you okay? Do you need an extra helping of turkey? Are you starving?" Like things like that. So
yeah, it's good he won, Tom.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with him. Like if my preferred scenario is like almost what we got, like a super divided Congress, like, and if it's like just in the slight favor of getting Tom Emmer the ability to like drag Gary Gensler in for investigation, like that would be a big win for the space.
Yeah.
So YouTube, we see 2 concurrent viewers watching all 5 of us talking, although only 2 of us are actually speaking up. But YouTubers, if you are watching this, please, in addition to sharing this, because like with everyone in crypto kind of licking our wounds, we might not have a lot of people watching. And also drop some comments. Like we're happy to talk about kind of anything. If not, then we're just gonna have to like probably, I imagine, like on Puffer's behalf, we'll pull up some Carnation images and just share the screenshots of that until ratings improve.
Don't do it.
Might need to brand this as NSFW. We'll see. I guess Llama and our fellow NPCers don't have much to add. NPCs, I understand, like an NPC.
I'm an NPC, but I had to do a little remarket on my Discord profile pic.
Yeah, it looks like you're preparing to get a job now, like getting the suit on.
Nice glass of red wine. But who do you think is the worst of the 4 horsemen?
You know, it's really tough because I don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes. At the moment, I have to say SBF because, like, like Do Kwon, like you can argue that he knew his whole thing was a Ponzi and was going to collapse. But there's also like a reasonable argument to be made that he didn't think it was going to collapse. But he wasn't stealing customers' funds as near as I could tell. Like whatever shady stuff they're doing, like I hear a lot of stories about how like they were like the worst mafia and how they were like trying to like sideline anyone that was like trying to speak up against them, which is kind of obnoxious, but also fairly par for the course for like a Korean company. So as far as like I can kind of see like more of an argument that Doe didn't do anything wrong. SBF, I don't see the argument. Like when they were lending out their customers' funds to Alameda, like that's a clear red line, and I have no idea how they managed to cross that one. And then on top of it, the sheer sanctimoniousness of LARPing as like this effective altruist who's going to save crypto. I mean, that just really annoys me because so many people buy into that like schlocky marketing.
So embarrassing that whole his whole LARP.
Yeah, I mean,
But I buy that argument about Doe. Like maybe he just convinced. Like I could see someone making that argument. Like maybe he didn't think it would collapse like that. Maybe he thought it would work. But yeah, I could see that argument.
yeah, I mean, I think he more just like got wrapped up in his whole thing. Like he was seeing it working and he kind of like got high on his own like belief in himself. So I could kind of like see the argument for Doe. Like as far as like 3AC, like I actually don't have as much like ill will towards them. Like I mean, just because like if nothing else, they've like stayed pretty quiet throughout this whole thing. Like Doe like intentionally painted a target in his back because he was like such an obnoxious like S poster on Twitter. Like I could definitely see like 3AC people being kind of back and like having a decent explanation. I don't know if they're on the run or not, but they're starting to reappear.
Everyone just get kicked.
But you know who comes out of it looking like really good, in my opinion, is Brian Armstrong with Coinbase.
Yeah, man, for sure,
Because
for sure.
he's been like sort of nailing this for almost as long as CZ and like not doing too much of the kind of schlocky stuff. You know, some of it doesn't work, but some of it's like working pretty good. Um, so like on top of everything else, like he has not been like pursuing these get rich quick schemes. He's had to sit there and eat it up in the press while like the press has been calling Coinbase like all this like horrible like hit pieces against it, while at the same time like positing like Sam Bankman-Fried is the golden boy of crypto is going to save things. And he's just continuing to like go on and be completely based. He got his Tornado Cash lawsuit in the like, which looks like it actually affected things. It looks like on some level, OFAC backed down on the Tornado Cash sanctions. They replaced it with something else that's like kind of a mumbo jumbo and confusing, but it actually like is like a sign that they think they're going to lose. So like, good on Brian Armstrong for all this. He's committed to not doing staked Ethereum if they are going to force him to do the sanctions. So I think like all things considered, like Armstrong comes out of this in my mind looking really good. But we can't make anyone a hero in this space, as we learned, because the heroes are all just such awful people.
Yeah, the heroes get killed. The heroes get killed off. The main characters get killed off.
Yeah, and CZ, like I'm like super worried about him now because he has been awesome up till date. Like, but like look first of all, like look at how he's been operating Binance Smart Chain, which is essentially a centralized chain as it is. So like he's like not above like doing like kind of like the worst things in the space. I mean, he's been pretty based so far, but I don't know. Like he's got so much power now relative to anyone else. Like CZ kind of worries me. Llama Del Rey asks, "Is Llama Party always Friday that time?" I don't have a fixed time for this just yet. This is like still the first month or so of Llama Parties, so still trying to feel out like what works best for people. And next week, hopefully, knock on wood, Naga King is going to be the guest of honor. So it'll kind of just be dependent on his schedule for next week. But like Wormhole Oracle, like initially asked if you could do it at 5 p.m. And I was like, whew, that's like 5 p.m. here is like 8 p.m. I feel like East Coast is logged off by 8 p.m. on Friday. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But still, like, I'm kind of open to like how we do this that gets the most people. Like for me, 9 a.m. is like kind of like a good time because I generally have like got enough time to get my article out. So if people want to talk about that, like, or if no one shows up, we could just go over that. But yeah, I'm kind of open to suggestions. YouTube, feel free to chime in. I see we're up to 6 viewers there. um, as well as in the Discord chat. Feel free to drop suggestions. And mind you all, we wouldn't be doing these llama parties if it wasn't for the good idea of Puffer here. So Puffer was the one who first suggested that we do some like Discord chats on this style, and I really like the format. I think it's like a lot more fun. I'm kind of waiting for like the first like terrible Discord chat where like someone comes in and is like, you know, yelling something illegal and we have to like take the stream down or something like that. But so far, like we're below enough people's radar that we can kind of just keep it to like a casual chat.
Wondering how he donated like $100 million to political campaigns and like buying stadium marketing, all while like teetering this line somewhere along the way. Like, how are you justifying that spending that much money? I'm not understanding like a lot of these things.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, the thing I can say about it is like they spent a lot of money in like marketing, and it worked, right? Like up until last week, I thought FTX was invincible. Like I was convinced they were going to like dominate all of crypto. That they hired all these like super brilliant traders from top schools.
Me too.
Yeah, like they just had this aura of invincibility around them. So like they had their marketing strategy, and it worked. Like it absolutely worked. You know, that's why they were spending all that money. And like they came so quickly because, you know, Binance has been around for since 2014 or so. Coinbase has been around since 2014 or before that, even like 2012 maybe. And it didn't matter because like FTX came around like 3 years ago or whatever. Whenever they started, they just like rocketed past them in terms of market share. So they really had they pulled the wool over everyone's eyes, and I think they needed that kind of hefty marketing budget, the hefty kind of veneer of donating to politicians to make it look like they were like dominant. So you know, big marketing expense can be a good thing.
Yeah, I think they got so much credibility too when they bought out BlockFire, the other ones, that you thought they were like, oh, these guys like played the game. You know, they have a shit ton of cash. They played everything correctly, and they're
Right.
buying everything at the bottom. Everyone's like, they're totally fine, like no zero problems,
I thought so too, right? Like I was
which
like,
is so surprising.
I thought that they'd just been clever traders, had some money stashed away. I thought they were just going to gobble up all of DeFi. Um, and yeah, I'm still trying to figure out where all the money went. And
Yeah,
I think the answer is a lot of it never existed in the first place. Like a lot of this was kind of like
that's an
money.
interesting. It's an interesting thought. Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of it was like
like
just
fake
money that
money.
existed on leverage. So once it's all unwinding, it turns out there
Yeah.
was nothing there. Um, I kind of wonder when we're like, when do we escape from this? Like, how long is this stigma going to last? How long until we see like new stuff getting built out? Um, and I'm almost kind of wondering like if there can be a next bubble, since it seems to me like the run up of Bitcoin from like 20K to 69K at peak was due like in heavy part to like all these like VC Web3 VC firms like just like levering up to the gills and pushing the price up. Um, Now, I'd argue we can't have that again. Like, we should be super suspicious of any of these CeFi firms, like LARPing as Web3 firms. And thus, like, if we are suspicious of this, we're not going to see them, like, existing and able to push the price up. In which case, where does the next pump come from? Because, like, no pension fund's going to touch, like, cryptocurrency for at least a few years. You know, there's not going to be any traditional money rolling in. So we can have like on-chain stuff, but it's really tough to like get that much leverage on-chain because it's unwinds so quickly, and because you can't have these house of cards like on-chain. So I'm kind of wondering where the next pump, if ever it does, come from.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. And the printer shut off,
Yeah,
so maybe a
yeah,
wrong time.
like at least a year of focusing on the technology.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the only good thing I see,
Colby.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes. No, I was just gonna say some people are thinking it's sets us back, a few years, maybe winter for a few years. Who knows? But what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say like the bull case, or like the good, yeah, the good news, if we can say it. There's anything like good news is that like where else is anyone gonna go? Like the rest of the economy is not exactly doing that much better. Like if you were like an idle billionaire and you had a spare $1 billion lying around, where do you put it? Like stocks are tanking, treasury bills at 5%,
That's
like maybe.
that's kind of yeah, that's kind of like my whole thesis is like, what else are you gonna buy? Like everything else is inflated. Um, crypto's scarce or deflationary, and most young people want like to say fuck you. So like instead of buying like boomers assets. So I think I don't know. That's kind of my theory. Like why not, buy this, it's ours, kind of for young people and it's
It's
scarce.
it's true. I mean, like there is like if you peel back all the fraudsters and narcissists, like there is really cool technology actually being built. And I almost feel like we didn't even get to see any of it kind of hit the limelight because like all the like traditional press was so focused on like the Do Kwans and the SBFs of the world that they just actually never paid too much attention to like the real stuff being built in DeFi. So I do think that there's a narrative in terms of what's going on in actual DeFi that could break through, and like this might actually open things a bit for that to take center stage. Like now there's a bit more oxygen in the room that could be taken
Yeah,
up by some of these like DeFi founders, but DeFi's been hurting a lot too. So I guess like if I just have to like summarize it though, it's like maybe flash forward to a year from now, like maybe the market's gone down another 50% from here. Everybody's hurting, everyone's on food stamps, and like the Fed starts printing money again, and whoever's still got money is like, where do I put this? Crypto might look okay at that point if they're actually like looking at some of the cool stuff that's being built and being like, oh, okay, all right, let's give it a shot there. Like this stuff is actually proven resilient. On our side, we need to like really push this narrative because like everyone is hammering this narrative of like cryptocurrency is a scam, crypto's dead, all this stuff. Like we need to really like do our best to point out that DeFi did great and TradFi, centralized exchanges offshore, were the ones that like completely screwed the pooch here.
yeah, absolutely.
But
I hope
no,
it. I hope that message makes it through. But
yeah,
you know,
it's not going to. At least if my Twitter account is any indication, because my Twitter account is like I do pretty good with like the degens, but it's not going to get through to like the normies. And the normies hate crypto. Like the normies are so happy to see this happen.
yeah. Um, but like FTX US was fine, so it's like the the US regulation worked to a certain extent, I guess. Right?
Yeah, yeah, other than Gensler getting into bed with SBF to try and give him special regulatory exemptions, like it kind of worked. Um, Now we can't have these exemptions around the world, so it's like there's always going to be some
Yeah.
place like people could launch FTX2 in Somalia, and even FTX US. I think I saw this morning that they are also going through bankruptcy.
I did see that. Yeah, I did see
So
that. So I don't know. Maybe everything's rugged.
I don't know, man. I
Just crazy.
someone convinced me to keep a little bit of money on Gemini Earn because I had like more assets in DeFi, and they were like, DeFi is dangerous. You should keep some at least in centralized exchanges. And this is something I just noticed when I was, earlier this week. I
I
was
have
like,
money there.
yeah, earlier this week I was like, I'm gonna just get this out for now because like it's been good. Um, but it's not worth like keeping it there for the time being. Like I'm happy to sacrifice the 5% this month. But they I went to withdraw and they said there's a 2 week wait to withdraw. And this is like Monday this week that I did it.
Really,
So
really. Hmm.
it may be that the Gemini's caught up with this. I heard a rumor that Gemini Earn is basically just sending their
Really.
money to one of these other firms like Genesis or something.
Fuck. Maybe I
So
should get my money out because they are just lending your money out.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the that's the that's the yeah.
And the messed
Maybe
up
I
part
won't
of it
lend.
is like they're giving 5%, so they literally could just be buying T bills.
They were giving like 3% on ETH, right? Or is it up to 5 on Gemini?
Oh, I was
I
talking about
forget.
dollars, because I had like
Oh,
rotated
the
some to stables.
GUSD. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. They had it even up to 8% on Gemini Dollar.
they did at one point, and it's dropped a little bit. So, I tend to think Gemini and Coinbase are among the safer tier. Kraken, maybe,
Sheesh, man. Yeah,
but
I think Coinbase is fine. I have a little money on Coinbase, I have a little money on Gemini, I have a little money on Chain, I have a little money on L2. So I'm kind of well spread out, but maybe I'll move my money off Gemini.
yeah, it's just worth it at this point. I mean, I'm gonna just put it in a bank account and like that's that. But you know what's funny is like people ask
Uh,
why like I like started following Curve, and Curve has yet to rug me. Like all the money I've put into Curve is surprise. Like I keep going and checking on it. And it's like, oh, you know, I made $1,000 in interest on that. That's cool. I thought Curve was worthless. All right, cool. Um, like the worst that's ever happened is like I will forget about a pool and it will stop earning rewards, but I've managed to avoid like all the blow ups, like UST, USDN. There was nowhere near Mochi. Like you can count the you can count them on your fingers, like the actual blow ups that happened on Curve, and they were all the ones that like you could kind of see coming. So I'm pretty stoked on what Curve has offered to the ecosystem, even though their stablecoin yield is pretty low at the moment. Hey, we got some questions rolling in on YouTube. Duff Tata, how are you? Duff Tata asks, "Could we create 3 more suns so we are in the same time zone? Would be fine without the massive FTT token dump by CZ, and recommends we get our money into gold. You know, it's not the dumbest idea.
Sheesh. What's the best thing to hold right now? I'm feeling like dollars, man. I don't know. I don't know.
It,
Gold, dollars.
I got to be a realist, man. It's got to be dollars. Like, I was completely out on dollars.
I think it's got to be.
Go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say I was completely out on dollars. Like, you asked me 2 years ago, and I'm just like, keep your money away from dollars. It's the biggest rug. You know, they're printing most 20 trillion out of nothing. Like, dollars can be worthless. And I was half right because dollars did end up like getting inflated like crazy. Problem is like everything else tanked against it. So dollars was not, as it turns out, the best investment. So I think dollars at least until we see money printing turn back on. Once money printing's coming back, then we can run away from dollars.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
What's the dollars earning on Curve? Because it's not dollars, the gold pool. They had that Tether gold. I wonder if that
Other
would be.
gold.
Yeah, they did a XAUT pool on Curve.
Is it a tether, gold bar tether back?
Yeah, here, let me go ahead
Thing?
and share my screen so we can. Since I'm the only one who's got my camera on anyway, I'm not going to hurt by doing this. Okay, yeah, that's looking pretty good. So this is Tether Gold, and it's connected against 3Pool. So this might not be the worst place to park your money in the entire planet because you get 50-50 exposure to dollar coins and to gold.
That's
So,
pretty dope.
and on top of that, you get
That's
three
pretty
percent
cool.
3% curve rewards. So you know, if any fluctuation, you're not losing as bad. So that might be the.
That's pretty awesome.
I might have to take my next time I have some dollars free. I might need to put it into that. But yeah, I think I'm still at the point where I want to dollar cost average into Ethereum and Bitcoin because I still like even like despite all this crash, like I've been in crypto since like 2014, and those are the assets that have like done best for me. And I'm most bullish on Ethereum, but like I still would like more Bitcoin in my life. So I'm probably gonna also dump some money into Try Crypto because Try Crypto has been pretty good for me. Um, like yeah, we might go down further, but like I can see a world in the next 5 years where crypto's Bitcoin's back above 100K. So Try Crypto be a pretty good place to sit while I wait for that to happen.
Yeah, I agree. Bitcoin is deep.
I haven't even checked in on Bitcoin Maxi Twitter. What's Bitcoin? What were Bitcoiners saying about all these collapses? Because it's not like it helped them any.
They're just you know, they basically equate FTX with like everything other than Bitcoin. Like crypto is FTX. Like they're equating the two together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So they're just
So it's like
laughing and like,
obviously they're like obviously you shouldn't be fucking around with shitcoins. Like look at what happened. You know?
yeah, but look what happened was Bitcoin dropped 25% on it. So it's not like Bitcoin was immune. And then they're also like all the Bitcoin wrapped on Solana. Apparently, there's a big question mark about what's going to happen with that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. All the Solana wrapped assets, I guess. Right. All the
Yeah. How much Solana Bitcoin was
what's
there?
their
Let's check out CoinGecko and see what's going on with SOL BTC. Oh, they don't have it. Oh, well. T Conte says XAUT recommend. You can cash out in Zurich for real gold. Nice.
this is the type of stuff that like nobody knows about. I didn't even know about that. It's like pretty amazing and is really really interesting. Uh,
I know it's and that's
that's
like
kind of the future, man, of the things.
yeah,
That's like really interesting.
yeah, if you want to look for these bullish narratives for DeFi, like all this stuff that is not kind of floating below the scenes in terms of like when I remember like when I first looked at Curve, like it just kind of blew my mind because I was like at that point like mostly like thought Bitcoin was the ecosystem, and then I opened up Curve and I was like, oh my gosh, there's like so much going on within this like DeFi world, and then people get sucked in to this kind of black hole. So I still think you can get this kind of black hole effect of people like paying attention to DeFi and like seeing all the crazy innovation and like being like, oh, okay, I didn't realize it was happening. So this could be a great time for like whatever DeFi projects launch, like get some of the action on Curve and whatnot. Shisho GZ, welcome. Didn't see you join the stream here. But if it's a llama party, so feel free to unmute and chat.
Hey, hello, how are you?
Doing good. How about yourself? Whereabouts are?
Good, good. Just about to take the dog out for a walk. So
Oh,
I thought
nice.
I might just join the party in the meantime.
That's great. That's great. What kind of dog do you have?
It's a rescue dog. We don't know the race. It's kind of she comes from North Macedonia.
Oh,
But
cool.
yeah, we don't know what it is.
It's awesome. I'm looking at doing a dog sometime next year. I have a trip coming up in January, and then hopefully after that, like once the weather gets a bit nicer here, get a dog to keep me distracted from the multi-year bear market we're going to be going through. How are you holding up? Are you okay in terms of like your mental state given everything that's going on?
Yeah. So I got into crypto like a year ago, and it happened to me quite fast. I got into a rug pull in Binance, a smart change. And since then, that happened in November 2021. Since then, yeah, I always have kept my tokens in Ledger. So luckily for me, like yeah, all good so far. I was little bit leveraged on liquidity, so I had just to put more ETH into my trove. But one of the things I was super glad about was that I was always in control. Okay, gas was a bit expensive, right? but it was not that my funds were like stuck in exchange, and I wasn't able to put them in liquidity. All my funds were in my ledger. I connected my ledger. Gas was at $300 at the time I checked, so I thought, okay, let's wait a little bit because, well, I wasn't like in a super rush. And then when they went down to $20 to put some ETH in the trough, then yeah, I did. So I thought, oh, yes, that's why you need to keep your funds in your wallet, not in a centralized exchange, especially if you're a little bit leveraged.
Yeah. Is there any way that we can get normies to understand that ledgers are not that difficult, or like MetaMask is not that difficult? Because I was talking about this with someone yesterday. Like my parents, like my mom also got in the market around the same time as you. She saw was like all the prices were rising, so she bought the top. She saw that Ethereum was nearing $5,000. She's like, I have to get in, which in hindsight should have been my sell signal. When once she called me up and asked me how to buy Ethereum, I should have like sold everything I had and like got into a van, headed down by the river, and just lived out there for a year. Um, but like I told her to go to Coinbase because Coinbase is easy. She'd be able to connect her bank account, blah blah blah. And you know, she's talking about buying 1/4 of one Ethereum, so it's not going to break the bank. So so I got her all on board, and I was thinking like, should I try and get her to set up like a Ledger wallet? Should I get her to set up a MetaMask so that like we can practice what we preach about not keeping money on the exchanges?
Origin.
Origin, what's that?
Origin.
Argent.
Instead of MetaMask, Argent, right?
Origin is like pseudo self custody. It's what is it? What is it? What is it called? Abstracted. It's technically self custody, but they or it's social recovery.
Interesting.
But it's like you can hold zk sync L2 on there. You can hold mainnet ETH. It's really beautiful UI as well.
Yeah, I'm taking a look
I
at it
think
right now.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
I think the biggest problem here is that we need like a sort of a ramp off, ramp on the exchange from a bank, right?
It's in there.
Because
You can your card directly in the app. I mean, this is I think one of the better apps. Social recovery.
I'm taking a look at it right now. I'm glad that you spoke up because I had no idea Argent existed. To be honest, like I might have heard the name before, but that's pretty cool. Like it looks legit.
It's you save a passkey to your Google Drive as one way to access your wallet. If you lose that, you can verify your credentials to get the key with the management company. I believe the Argent's something like that, where like you can get it if you need to. But I don't think they can just access your funds. So it is. They really embody the crypto values, and they've got working with zk sync to I don't know.
That's
Yeah.
cool. So then, how do they like if you want to like use it, if you want to use your Argent to like access website, do they have like a MetaMask plugin or something like that?
I have only sent money from my MetaMask to my Argent on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
They do have an interface to use Zigzag if you want to do swaps.
Nice.
Like they have like I guess they would have made their own interface in the wallet to do swaps. And I did staking. I'm staking some money through zk sync and Lido through Argent. So they have like some services to interact with DeFi model.
That is cool. Thanks for the tip.
You
And
you can
NP
also do like a urine yield strategy. They have something like a bunch of different options in there.
nice. NPC 69 says potential airdrop on Argent for using ZK Sync as well.
There's no way I'm going to get that airdrop. Haven't got an airdrop yet. Likely never will get one.
I don't think I've gotten a successful airdrop. Like I remember the Ellipsis Finance airdrop was like all the rage. How's Ellipsis? Is Ellipsis even still around? Let me check on the Ellipsis, see how they're doing.
You got the airdrop for them?
I mean, yeah, like I for the first few weeks.
Like the one you got?
Yeah, for the first few weeks it was like oh man, this is bleak. Here's how Ellipsis is doing. 0.0003 cents. No, way back in the day, it used to be as high as this is Ellipsis X, so this is a little different. I guess there's Ellipsis and there's Ellipsis old. But yeah, Ellipsis is sad state. NPC68 suggests try zk.money for potential airdrop. So I guess now that the market's turned to garbage, we have to just become airdrop farmers, right? Like, look around. We're only
down tremendously.
There's only 10 of us left in DeFi, so we can get a pretty like substantial share of these airdrops for ourselves. All right, well, let's take a look at DeFi.
It's an interesting time, and I feel like jobs have dried up too. Like everything's just slowing down.
Yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? But you're not looking for a job, are you?
Not right now, but I think in like 4 or 5 months I will be. So I hope there will be some opportunities there.
Yeah, I mean, it's anyone's guess. I kind of feel like this might be famous last words, but I feel like the bottom is in on some level. Like I feel like the SBF FTX thing is the last shoe to drop. So I'm kind of hopeful that first of all, there's like no one left of that size. So I mean, like obviously Binance or like Coinbase could plummet. But at this point, it's just like, take another punch. Who cares? Like we're so used to taking punches at this point.
Yeah.
If they don't collapse, though, I feel like the bottom is in, which might mean that whoever's left and whoever has money is going to be doing some hiring. And you might have better luck because it's like you're probably not going to see the exodus of people from TradFi to DeFi or from like Web 2 to DeFi at the moment. Here's the list of potential. Here's a list of potential airdrops, by the way, according to DeFi Llama. So
That's a cool dashboard.
Yeah, I don't even know most of these. Kava Liquid. The Kava could be a good one. OpenSea, that's interesting. Good news for all you NPCers out there. Llama Land.
Yeah, it's like not worth like me like moving my money through these things just to like have the chance, Like I wonder. Agree. It's like it's exhausting, I guess, more than anything else.
Yeah, there's not a good passive DeFi strategy. You kind of have to keep actively moving, and that costs money. And it's just like kind of frustrating to try and keep up with everything.
Yeah, now we are talking about it. I got two questions. One, do you have only one wallet? Do you have several wallets and keep moving your funds from wallet to wallet, or you create wallets every now and then? And then also, in terms of passive investment, what do you do with CDX? I just don't know where to put it in Clever and leverage a little bit there, or just keep them in Llama Air Force as you have been doing.
Yeah, good questions all. So the questions, we'll go through those one at a time. Like as far as wallets, I have a few different wallets, and I try and keep so I usually use like the same few seed phrases to generate these. But there's like cases where I need to keep my funds separate for certain things. Like I have one wallet for specifically like personal stuff, one wallet for like business stuff. I have like a separate wallet because I have one that's just doing like some multi-sig signing. So I know Puffer's going to be jealous of that. But every now and then I need to sign some Gnosis safe transactions. But I think we'll be able to get Puffer onto some multi-sig soon, which I can talk with him about separately. So there might be some good news for Puffer coming there. So I do have multiple wallets, but like there's only a few that like I typically like keep any volume like amount of stuff in, and that's like I keep protected by Ledger. Like I have a bunch of hot wallets for just kind of like random like transactions with small amounts of money that I would not like cry if I lost. And I'm sure other people can weigh in on their wallet strategies. As far as like my convex strategy, I keep so like I've dabbled with all the different services. In some cases, I just if I'm like really like setting it and forgetting it, like I don't want to spend the time or effort to rotate it. And then I'll use like some of the Aladdin DAO services that do a good job of like auto harvesting yields. They take a cut out of it, so it has to be something I'm just never planning on using, and like never planning on harvesting myself. The problem is like as much as people say that you should like kind of like just keep everything like in a cold wallet and never touch it. The problem is like the yields change, right? Like you put your money into a curve pool and then you have to move it because you hear there's a depeg risk, or you hear that like the yield is drived up for some reason. So it's like impossible to like do it and just forget it. So if I think I'm going to be rotating it more frequently, then I just put it in convex and then I rotate directly. The one that's like sticky for me is like, what do I do with my convex? Because like I find that like doing the on-chain voting in like and every like 4 months is like kind of like more responsibility than I can handle. So I've lately been just doing my convex into the ETH convex pool, which gets pretty good rewards, and I don't have to worry about like the vote locking every couple of months. But I'm lazy, so I'm probably like, and I'm like I'm not good at this by any stretch. So I'd be curious to hear what other people. Puffer, if you have thoughts or if people want to weigh in the YouTube comments or on the chat. In the chat, we have NPC69 saying he did the farming airdrop for HFT, and that airdrop promptly sold is going to fund for a few months. Okay, so some airdrops do pay off. No comments coming in on the YouTube, but we're getting 9 concurrent viewers. So there's still I know there's 10 total people in DeFi. So let's see if we can get that to 10 YouTube viewers. And then anyone beyond that is going to be preaching beyond the choir. So come on, go ahead and share this on Twitter. Share this on Facebook even, or I guess Mastodon's the new thing. Share it everywhere. NPC69 says, did the airdrop farming for HFT. You could do the wallet strategy by copying Voldemort. Please no killing, just splitting your net worth into 7 different pieces. So. Puffer, I cut you off. What were you about to say? I did not cut Puffer off. Puffer is perhaps in the car again. So anyway, did that answer your question, Shiko GZ? I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, that did, yes.
Yeah, there's something that kind of sucks about having so many different wallets though, because I feel like you end up having to like split Ethereum into all the different wallets. So like just by like way of example, if you have, let's say you have 10 Ethereum and you launch 10 wallets and you send 1 Ethereum to each of those wallets, like that's such a small amount of Ethereum in each wallet that you just kind of are like, all right, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to let that Ethereum sit there. Whereas if you have one wallet with 10 Ethereum in it, then it's like, okay, I could take that 10 Ethereum and like, why don't I pop into Curve and do some yield farming, for example, or someplace else.
Yeah, it's the cost of maintenance, right? Moving it from one wallet to another is not cheap.
Yeah, right. It costs, yeah, do you pay the extra tax every time?
Exactly. And you need liquidity sometimes in some wallets to, for whatever might happen. So yeah, that is something that after like 10 months, I haven't just yet get it right, get the correct strategy for me. That's little struggling there. That's why I wanted to know your thoughts on that, because you have been here for When did you start? Like, when did you just became part of crypto? 2018 earlier?
I've been around since 2014, but I took a break between 2014
Wow.
and 2019. The space was
how did
so
it feel?
boring.
How did it feel from 2018 to 2020 in Ethereum? Because yeah, it was completely dead, right? It was pretty much like now, or even worse.
I wasn't even paying any attention to it, to be honest. It was so boring, the space. There was nothing going on inside of it. Like it was
Were you
literally.
doing DCA or anything, or you just got your ETH there and you didn't care?
So basically, like Bitcoin and Ethereum maxis were spending all their time fighting on crypto Twitter, and that was it. It was like the same boring arguments over and over and over again, and I just I logged out. Like I was not paying attention to it, and I only started paying attention again once Ethereum and Bitcoin and everything started going back up in like 2019, and I was like, huh, maybe I should take a look at these some of these like small bags I held that are doing nothing. And I looked at them and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like not like 1% of my portfolio like I thought it was. This is like 90% of my portfolio. This is like shot up so much. So then I started like diving into it. And my specific question was, how do I earn yield on this? Because I didn't want to do anything. Like I'd taken to heart that Bitcoin maximalist mantra, don't ever sell a single Satoshi. And I was like, okay, great. Like, where could I like earn yield on Bitcoin? And like, there's only so many places you could look. So I took a look onto like DeFi, and lo and behold, like Curve Finance, Binance at the time were like offering good yields on wrapped Bitcoin. So that's kind of where I fell in the DeFi rabbit hole.
Now they're talking about yields. That is probably the most difficult thing I get to explain my friends about DeFi and crypto. Because, of course, when you get these yields, all of them say, how are you going to get more yield than what the treasury gives you, right? That's a Ponzi, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
a good question.
Difficult to explain them.
There's a few answers to it. I feel like the first of which is just like I don't see any reason why they couldn't wrap treasury yields and bring them on chain. Like someone's going to figure out how to do this. Probably someone like Tether or USDC, to be honest, because they have so much dollars lying around and they already have like the TradFi infrastructure. But someone's going to get the treasury yields on chain and be able to get yield on top of that, is my hypothesis. So I think once that happens, like greed's going to take over and like DeFi is going to like explode again. Carbon Lattice, welcome. Good to see you 2 weeks in a row now.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Is this do we start too early for you? Is like 10 a.m. your wake up time?
Oh, actually, I start work at 7:30, so no.
Okay.
No, it's totally fine. And I'm on like I said, I'm on the West Coast like you guys. So, nope, this is fine.
Right on.
I'm sorry I'm late. What have we been talking about? We're talking about how does crypto get better yields? I wanted to make one point was that, I think one of the important things to think about, like how should we think about curve emissions? What you could think about a curve emissions, think about it just like Uber, guys. Uber was cheap 4 or 5 years ago because VCs were essentially subsidizing the price. And what Curve is doing is essentially they're taking their capital and their seed money and they're basically spreading it out amongst the users. So you can think of it as like there's a valuation and they're essentially spreading that valuation back to users through Curve funds. That's the way I look at it. So
yeah, I like that analogy.
Yeah, exactly. It's essentially they're spending capital to onboard users. Now I think I have not read, and Garrett, maybe you have a better idea, but when you take it to the logical end, when curve emissions drop substantially, yeah, they're set for like 300 years, but when they stop by like 99%, does curve continue? How does curve continually incentivize liquidity to stay on the protocol? And maybe at that point, it's geez, with everything that's happened this week, who knows? But at that point, maybe there's institutions that are, parking their capital there because it's safe, or like Garrett, you were noting about the new Curve USD. Maybe, the real incentive there is that you can take transaction fees per V Curve down to zero, so everything you boost rewards to liquidity providers, and you find a different source of income. I think it's not clear to me what happens when curve emissions drop to 1% of what they are. I still don't have a good feeling for what's going to happen there. Garrett, do you have any ideas, or have you thought about this? Like what some potentials could be, when there's no more curve incentives?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I think my contention on that is basically that it's happening to us like a little bit every year. So it's going to be this kind of gradual transition where we probably won't even notice the effects of it. And then my other contention is just that like I fully expect and kind of demand that Curve will keep innovating. And if if Curve stays exactly as it is for the next 300 years and makes zero changes, then Curve deserves to die. Like straight up. Like if this is the final form of Curve, like that's game over. But as we're seeing, like Curve does innovate fairly rapidly. So like I think that when we see Curve USD kind of launch, and then if it is able to kind of like absorb multiple forms of collateral, we might well see the epicenter of the activity on Curve moving towards Curve USD pools instead of existing pools, in the way that we're kind of already seeing a transition from 3 Curve into like different base pools with Frax and the V2 pools. So I kind of fully expect that that this will get solved over the next 300 years. So the comparison is that Curve uses the same emission schedule as Bitcoin. Bitcoin is emitting very heavily at first, and then it drew down on kind of the same schedule, just a bit more staggered, where it did halvenings every 4 years. And the hope with Bitcoin was that the fees for sending money around would get to the point where like you don't need the emissions because the fees would take it over. And that hasn't happened yet for Bitcoin. So I think it's actually a more substantial problem for Bitcoin. The initial thesis with Curve is that the fees from trades would be able to get you where you need to be. And that's in addition to the kind of like value of the trading fees. Like here's why I think Curve's actually like surpassed Bitcoin. In addition to the trading fees use case, which I don't think hit for V1 pools because the fees were so low, but has seemed to hit for V2 pools a bit better because we see like Try Crypto, like just right now, past 24 hours, is at this 10% daily VAPY, and always pretty good because like the crypto pools are more volatile. So I do think that you could theoretically get there with fees alone for V2 pools. But then on top of that, we've seen that Curve has unlocked and extracted some value from governance, which is not something you can say of Bitcoin. And then we're also going to see lending fees from Curve USD also flowing to Curve. So already you're seeing like multiple different revenue streams accruing and giving value to the Curve token. So the locked VECRV is essentially like accruing some percentage of all these future earnings. So as long as Curve continues to innovate and kind of extract opportunities where it's like able to pounce, I do see that you could get to a point where the Curve emissions will have completely stopped, but there will be so much utility baked in the ecosystem that it's a good thing.
Yeah, did I already miss all the ranting and raving about the FTX? I assume I already missed all that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
open with all that. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Good.
I thought for sure that it was just going to be me like sitting and sobbing for an hour.
I hope everyone wasn't affected, and if you were taking it in stride, I think, if you're in this tiny little community, I would hope a lot of you guys and girls have your, completely have a wallet and everything's in DeFi. I guess I was very lucky because I just don't keep anything on a centralized exchange. So I think this drives home that we've got to just keep custody of everything. We just cannot trust, I don't want to trust centralized actors. No matter who it is, it's just better not to trust. So.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. We were looking at some of the like we were talking about this too, like how do we get normies to get this message because they're not getting the message.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And
did everyone see the Up Only podcast with Martin Shkreli and the villains
surreal.
of crypto? Yeah, this is. I mean, but this points out, I think, really well that like this to be honest, this has put the industry back so much. Like the fact that SPF was up there and that now there's a bunch of regulators who are going to feel humiliated for supporting this guy. I mean, this is bad.
It's
But,
bad. Yeah,
yeah,
we'll build our way out of it. It's gonna take some time though. It's bad.
yeah,
No way
I
around
agree.
it.
I agree. Yeah, exactly. Just gotta knuckle down and build. But like you were saying, I think interesting about Curve is that they have just such a strong moat at this point, and now with the release of Curve USD and everything, it's really good. One thing I wanted to ask you, Garrett, was Lens. I know that you adopted Lens early, or you have a Lens account. Is that correct?
I do, yes. I need to get back to posting to it. And the reason I've been I fell off a little bit was because they don't have good tools for doing threads. And I a reader was advising that I post all of my because I used to just post my articles to Twitter, and he was like, threads are really popular. You should do threads. So I've been doing threads, and it depends on the day. Sometimes they do really good and go super viral. Sometimes they just like crickets, and I get no one liking it. But I've kind of kept that habit of doing the threads, and it doesn't work very well to do the threads on Lens. So once they add that. The other feature I'd like to see on Lens is I would just literally always post to Lens if I could choose whether or not I could post to Twitter. So they have a way of mirroring your posts. So when you post to Lens, and you have this option to mirror, it will automatically post to Twitter a couple minutes later. So I would just always do that if I could also check a box to say don't post this one to Twitter. Just let's hold some back and keep everything on Lens. And I just make that my primary. So if they have those two features, I'm going to be Lens first.
Yeah, I've just been checking out. I don't have a Lens account, but I've been checking it out over the last few weeks, and it is one of the few things that I've checked out recently where I thought, wow, this is actually really cool. I thought I saw a lot of, to be honest, a lot of young 20-somethings really hyped on it and innovating and using the platform, and I thought, this is one of the most interesting things I've seen in the space recently. I hope that this social fi aspect really can continue to build and gain traction, because I think there's a lot of really unique and interesting things that can happen in that space. Like Lens Tube, I saw there's a YouTube equivalent. To be honest, I don't know what is going on because the bit rate is really slow. I don't know if that's due to the fact that it's checking something on chain, or they don't have the servers. They have to fix that issue. But I think that the Lens is a very, very interesting little subset of the building that's going on right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Lens is and then the other one I hear about recently is Mastodon. I don't know is that something that I need to check out or take a look at, because I only have that much time to be social. I'm not a social person. I can't spend all day on social media. Is Mastodon worth it?
I was using Mastodon for a bit before getting into crypto. I was looking for decentralized social applications. Yeah, it's a little bit like Twitter, but it's a little bit more difficult to find people or find news. You have to be in the right server channel. But yeah, it's an option. I interested also to see what Musk and CC do with Twitter. Whether there's a possibility of involving some sort of blockchain there, or don't know, God knows.
Yeah, I'm kind of bullish on this being a good year for innovations in social media. Because first off, I think Musk is going to innovate some stuff on Twitter. So I think Twitter is going to and we've already seen it getting better, or at least changing in some ways. So I think we're going to see some interesting stuff there. And then at the same time, I think all the people Elon Musk is still the current thing. So NPCs hate Elon Musk and are going to be looking for other options. So I'm pretty bullish that we're also going to see other protocols like maybe Mastodon or Lens be able to capture some of this outflow and just get people open to the idea of using new things. Which in turn is going to spur more innovation on Twitter. So I'm we could get some good stuff going here. And I'm particularly bullish if any of them are Web3 first. Vercor joined the chat, by the way. Welcome, Vercor.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Welcome. I see you're both typing and you are talking. We've had a few questions flowing in on the chat too while we've been doing this. T. Conte asked, what if you have 100 Ethereum? If you have 100 Ethereum, I would look at one of the wrapped staking options. And as it happens, I published a guide to these earlier today. So you have easy way of evaluating these. But there's Frax ETH is launching and giving good rewards on Curve. Rocket Pool is fantastic. Coinbase Ethereum is trading at a discount and probably not going anywhere. So there's a lot you could do with 100 Ethereum. You could just buy a CryptoPunk if you have 100 Ethereum, right? What do you all think?
Probably.
What would you do if you had 100 Ethereum just burning a hole in your wallet?
I would spread it diversify among a bunch of LSDs, and spread the risk. Because I think you're right. That is a definitely new aspect. Is that once those are able to be collateralized, for instance, crv.USD, I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things going on there. It's going to be like it's going to be the treasury yield, the equivalent to the treasury yield for Ether.
And Tendino, Ticante in chat is asking for Leak to Lens. It's up on the screen here. Go ahead. I think
Now that you spoke about setting up a node, what was your experience? Did you look into Rocket Pool or you went straight? I read your post, but do you consider also going through Rocket Pool or just going straight and wanting to have it like all raw with like
So,
ETH?
I
or
went
other,
directly. I'm running my own node, and I have to say, especially as I was doing the research this morning. So my thesis was, okay, if you just take it say you're running a node, say, the current node rate's like 4% yield, right? My thesis was, all right, all these protocols like Rocket Pool and all these, they're going to be taking some percent of that. So instead of 4%, you'll be getting 3.5%, but they will be giving you Rocket RPL, I think it is, emissions on top of it. And if I just do the mental math on them, there's no way that they could be giving me a token that's worth more than the Ethereum, because if so, they're going to be losing money. So I'm just going to keep all the Ethereum for myself, and then with that extra Ethereum, I could buy Rocket Pool tokens or whatever. And as it turns out, I'm dead wrong, because all of these other ones are out earning what I'm getting just on my node. So I rugged myself on that. I should have just ran a Rocket Pool node if I'm going to run this, because Rocket Pool is getting 7%, and perhaps even higher in some cases. All of these
Is that because they have more nodes, so hence more chances to actually mine one or not?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I mean, you could see where it kind of smooths out that lottery effect, because the idea with the node is you sit there and every now and then you get to propose a block. And full disclosure, I've proposed a few blocks at this point, but when I did that, I didn't have any kind of MEV set up. So I more recently set it up with MEV boost. So next block, I should, knock on wood, be able to sandwich all of you, steal all your Ethereum, and take it for myself. So once that happens, maybe my yield's going to go up, maybe I'll hit the lottery. But maybe that's the effect of all these staking nodes, is they're kind of able to aggregate those super juicy blocks that every now and then you hear stories of a block earning a ton of money in one hit. Or yesterday was a crazy day where gas fees were super high. So the block producers made a lot more money this past week. So maybe it's the effect of smoothing that out that allows these staking services to do better. So I'm going to stick with it. I've been talking about adding a couple more validators here or there, especially because Ethereum's getting nice and cheap. And maybe I'll set the new ones up as a Rocket Pool node or something. But yeah, despite all the work I did, and I'm still happy I've done it, just because it was a good process to teach myself how to do it. But if you are afraid you're missing out because you're not running a node, don't. Just take the liquid staking ETH and take the LSD and enjoy the high.
Great.
Is anyone actually doing or investing heavily in any of the LSDs? Do people have particular favorites? I know Condom has been saying that Coinbase ETH is kind of one of Condom's favorite bets because of the just because they keep trading at a discount, so you get that kind of bonus once it catches up.
Can you just buy that directly on Coinbase? Can you just with cash buy Coinbase Ether?
I think so. And then on Coinbase, you can then mint a token or cash out your Coinbase ETH if you do a token if you want to play around on chain.
Wow. What's the discount? Do you know? Or I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, I looked at it this morning, and let me see. When I looked at it this morning, it was 95 cents on the dollar. Let me get that article back up. Here we go.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's rough. It's within 3 or 4% now.
Yeah, which is not bad. Like that's a quick 4%.
Yeah, definitely.
And it may well now there must be some risk siphon like factored into that. Like maybe people are concerned that Coinbase is going to go insolvent, or maybe like Coinbase is going to Coinbase has a blacklist function on it, so they could just straight up blacklist you. But they're getting what I'm getting with my node. They have 6% rewards APY on the Curve pool, so like Coinbase ETH is kind of a good bet in that front. All right, there's a question from T. Conte. What do I like about Ethereum or crypto in general? I feel like I've covered this in part, but so I got back into crypto back in like 2014, and back then it was just Bitcoin. This is before Ethereum launched, and I was slow. Like I was in this room full of like Bitcoin maximalists at the time, and I was like, haha, you're so dumb. It's just stupid, like internet, funny money. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's going to zero. And what I failed to notice at the time is that everyone else in the entire room was like way smarter than me. Like they were like, 200 IQ chess masters. They were all like quoting economics like debates at this high level I couldn't understand. And I was just sitting there like, ah ha ha, I'm so smart. You're so dumb. So I kind of like, I figured it out that like, okay, I'm actually the dumb one. I should pay attention to what they're saying. And since then, it's like only gotten smarter because I also was late to Ethereum. Like I could have like taken some money in that, like I could have like taken some Bitcoin and like bought Ethereum with it. And Ethereum had all sorts of problems at the beginning. But what I like nowadays, I'm much more of an Ethereum maxi than a Bitcoin maxi. Like I still like Bitcoin and have a little bit. But yeah, Bitcoin is like a 4-function calculator. Ethereum's like an iPhone, relatively speaking. Like you can build anything on Ethereum, and we were seeing it playing out. Like we're seeing like the future of finance getting architected. We're seeing like the brand new like internet being reconstructed from scratch on Ethereum. So even despite all this like craziness of like TradFi firms blowing up, like I still remain like most bullish on Ethereum of all of these. But I think it's a good question for everyone, because like I probably have the blinders on this because I've done nothing but watch my net worth bleed for the past year. Like, what do you all who are listening in here, like what, if anything, do you all like about Ethereum and crypto in general?
Yeah, I'll just piggyback on that sentiment. I absolutely agree. I think I've said this. I haven't said this analogy in this Discord, but if you consider like, back in 1900, turn of the century, to create a company, you had to raise a bunch of capital, you had to build a factory, you had to hire people, you had to put all this money in, and then in the set 80s, finally have software essentially where the capital demand to start a company dramatically reduces. You just have to buy an office building, get a bunch of people to write up some code, and you can start great companies. Or mid 2000s, and now you just have to essentially program an app on a phone, and then you can create a company. And what I think is really interesting about Ethereum is that you can essentially for free write a contract, and if there is a use case, capital flows to the use case. So you don't have to raise capital, but you can create a product. And if the market decides that this is worthwhile, capital can actively flow into the product. I think that is, just fascinating and truly like the next step in kind of business. So, the fact that you're able to do that in a, like we've been talking about, and this week has shown, in a trustless way, where DeFi did not get crushed this week. Aave didn't go down. Things, everything worked as normal. I think that it's extremely interesting, and I think Curve is is one factor. Curve is an amazing protocol. V2, the design behind it, and capital can flow into this business that they've essentially created that pays a dividend yearly. I think that's extremely exciting. So it really seems like the next, wave of business and technology.
Yeah, it used to be the case that only the elite could rug pull people. Now anyone can rug pull anybody. It's a miraculous time. We're seeing
Exactly.
we're seeing scammers emerging
Yeah.
from the woodworks. No, this is something I was like saying because like I'm sure like everyone's been feeling a bit frustrated with like the scam stuff going on in crypto. And like one of the things that like really inspired me about DeFi from the beginning was like seeing all these good protocols like you mentioned that were emerging and like actually building this stuff. And it seemed like you know I hate the scams and everything. I know it comes with the territory, and I'm like getting super tired of it though. And it's like so depressing to keep reading it. The analogy I raised was like, you know, people like looking at accidents as they drive by. You know, like in like a horrifying way, but you know, rubbernecking is a real thing. Like you look and you're like, huh, okay, whoa, that's like pretty bad or whatever. If it happens every single day outside your house, you're like, like you move, like it's like pretty bad. But like, how do we like there is a bunch of good actors within crypto who are actually building really cool protocols who actually take decentralization to heart. And I'm trying to figure out like how do we like kind of reinforce the good actors in the space. And kind of like because my thesis is that over the long term, like this network of protocols that have earned trust because they are actually doing cool things, like you mentioned, Aave, Chainlink is like a bunch of chads there, Curve, like all the cool protocols being built out in Arbitrum. How do we get to the point where like all of these protocols end up like working together and like displacing or like creating sufficient value such that like the bad actors don't have a place in the space? And I don't really have a good answer for it. Or like, how do we even just promote this to the normal people? Because the narrative is always about these like accidents. It's never about these like really, really good protocols that are like building amazing technology. I just don't know, like people don't get excited about technology in the way they do about catastrophes. So it's what it is.
I think it's just too esoteric right now. I think Curve is extremely exciting. It's extremely fascinating, but as we can see by the number of people in this Discord, I mean, it's extremely niche. And so, until we have, like you're saying, Garrett, until we have our iPod, our iPhone moment like that, until that product comes along, I think we're just going to have to wait. That's why I was saying I think Lens. I think that's really interesting. I think that's SocialFi. It seems slick. It seems interesting. What will be built there? Obviously, I think it's Stanny, right, the guy behind Aave. Like very smart teams. Extremely well done. So, hopefully, I think we just gotta to wait until there's that product comes along and just continue to build and try to keep our heads down and not get really demoralized. But yeah, I think probably anyone in this Discord, if they've tried to, possibly talk to their significant other about these things, they probably have understood how difficult it can be to, translate this to, or get other people excited about what we're excited about. I know I have.
Oh yeah, you're not going to be able to get everyone. I've certainly learned that. Like my sister, she's pretty smart, but she's in the like NFTs kill trees type crowd. So I'm not even going to bother trying to explain it to her. I'm making my bet that crypto is going to flip in the existing economy. She's obviously making her bet that like whatever her lifestyle is better. We'll see what wins. Verquer writes that the wonders whether the crypto's main use case in 10 or 20 years will still mainly be finance. I think the governance opportunities for communities on a level-eyed basis might still be highly underlooked. The bandwidth of political voting system might increase 1,000-fold. I agree that I do think that crypto's first use case is money, just because it's so easy and because you kind of need to have the like base layer of like money built into it before you can see like other things emerging. So I do think for like at least the next few years, like DeFi is going to be dominant in terms of like the kind of building out the base layer of crypto. I think that once you have the DeFi side of things like really figured out, you get to see these other use cases emerging. So I think it's not an accident that like NFTs, which are basically just financialized art, like it's not kind of an accident that has emerged, but now because like NFT space is so big, like you're seeing all sorts of like activity in the NFT space, and you're like DAOs kind of emerge next, almost like as a necessity to operate decentralized protocols, but because DAOs like needed to exist, they've also found this application kind of outside crypto. So I do think that we're going to see like a lot of these kind of things developing from it. So I could very easily see social tools being the next thing to emerge, because we're all kind of still stuck on Web 2. We all use Discord, Telegram, and Twitter, but someone is going to need their own decentralized protocol, and we're going to see stuff like that emerging. I think we're going to see, you mentioned governance opportunities, political voting system. Like I do think that ultimately, like a lot of the existing Web 2 infrastructure is going to make its way to Web 3. So that's my take on that, Vercor. And you're in the chat here, so feel free to like speak up. Same with Akoluthos. Akoluthos, welcome to the chat. It's a party, so feel free to speak up. No, guess not. Guess just down to just me.
Hey, I'm back. Yeah, great take. Very interesting thoughts I have. I'm just wondering if these social systems are best built up through financialization. So of course, this is how society operates at the moment, and maybe in crypto could be an opportunity to rethink societies without this huge financialization. Maybe I'm just dreaming here, but I think it might not be necessary to first do finance. But I completely get your point, and it is working, and somehow we need to put leaders in a place. Or I'm not sure if I'm having my thoughts together here. It's so good at the moment, but yeah, it's a really interesting discussion.
No, like so like I think the interesting thing is like all these free services are actually financialized under the hood. So Web 2 is already financialized. It's just we don't always see it. And the example for that is, and I'm gonna get this article up. Just seeing what the first okay, this is MSN. So I'm gonna put this in the Twitter was selling behind the scenes blue check marks for $15,000. There were literally like people.
What?
There were literally people at Twitter that people were like applying to get blue checks, and the team was like slow walking it and refusing to give it. And then behind the scenes, they'd reach out and say, "Hey, send me $15,000. I'll send you a blue check." So these blue checks, in theory, were free. Like they're being given out to fight spam and all that. And in fact, they were already being financialized behind the scenes. It's just no one saw it because it was kind of like these shady backroom dealings. So all of these Web 2 services are already financialized. All Elon is doing is basically saying, okay, this is already something of value. Let me actually like put a price tag behind it. And I just think that DeFi is going to be the same in terms of like all of these various things that are happening kind of behind the scenes, smoke-filled rooms, super shady in the existing world are going to find their way into DeFi, where you can immediately financialize it because it's just built into the base programming layer of the protocol. So that's my take on like these social things. Like the next generation will have like a financialization component to it, but it does anyway. So now it's just explicit.
Great point. Making these financializations in the background more transparent is DeFi and crypto's greatest thing, in my opinion. And to be able to view all the value, and maybe then we can think about distributing this value. This might need a second step, but showing these backroom deals in a public way is crypto's greatest point. Yeah.
Here's a counterpoint: is that right now everything is pseudonymous. You can follow everything, but I feel that also we do need some layer of privacy, though. Like there needs to be somehow built in some layer of privacy, because not everybody wants to have everything be completely, I guess, pseudonymous. Or how do we build in a layer of privacy for average people, but also make it transparent. It's I don't know, it's complex, but I feel like we can't completely eliminate privacy. You know, privacy is an important human right, right? So yeah,
I mean,
I don't know how we build that in.
everyone in this chat here is a non, so I think everyone here in this chat's going to agree. What's funny is like we tried to build tools for that, and OFAC sanctioned them and said you're going to prison if you use them. And they've explicitly said that their CBDC is not going to have a privacy component. So they're definitely like trying to embrace this world of no privacy. I agree with you. We do need privacy, and I think it's like not just a human right, but it's necessary for people's safety. Because if you had to walk around with a sign on your forehead saying "I have 100 Ethereum," you would get killed and robbed, right? Like you need to be able to like choose who you disclose this to. Ethereum does not do a good job of it. I think there's some things that we can do at the base layer of the Ethereum protocol to add more privacy in there. Like one thing that has been talked about, not as a privacy thing, but like encrypting the mempool, for example, is like a no-brainer. But anyway. Is that you, T. Conte? I saw you join the chat.
I said Tornado Cash.
Tornado Cash. I know it's such a brilliant protocol, and we've been talking. Myself and a couple of colleagues have been talking about this concept of like encrypting votes to DAOs, because sometimes you want to be able to vote on a governance proposal, but you don't want it to necessarily come from your wallet. For reasons, because everyone's got their own reasons that they want to be private. So. I think that we're going to see like.
I think realistically, we need something that is transparent to the government, but not amongst us. If it gets intransparent to the government, and then government shuts it down, or tries to shut it down. But I think so. I don't think we can avoid the government knowing basically what's going on if they want to know. And if something's blocking them, they remove that. But I think they're fine with just the normies or us having not full access. So you kind of need something that is both satisfying the government and what they want to know with the anti-terror stuff, whilst also not you can still feel safe on the street not to get robbed.
So
there's some niche to that. And with the idea about the governments and how they should be built up, I think there is some pretty good use cases for blockchains looking at laws and basically simplify laws or to avoid bureaucracy, because bureaucracy keeps adding up, and so everything slows down.
So in the system you're proposing, you're suggesting a system where the governments have like more insight into certain things than other people on the network.
Yeah, I think if you have absolute privacy, then the government will shut it down.
But I guess my question then is, how exactly do you make that workable? Like we see like administrations change.
We have that on the iPhone. Like, look at the NSA, biggest employer of mathematicians in US. So your phone is like, if I have your phone, I don't have access to it, but the government can access it. So we have this kind of system already.
But correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that the system with the iPhone was where law enforcement could request that Apple unlock it. Is that how that works?
You can buy. No, you can pay. Pegasus. So there is Pegasus spyware. You don't have. It's not like some clickbaity virus you get. You can. I need money and your phone number, and I can have full access to your phone. Forget about some judge saying okay to it.
Okay, so is it something I can buy? Can I go buy myself?
Yeah, you can. So this is you can, and it's pretty expensive. So you use it on like so in corrupt nations, you basically use it to pressure your opponents.
Okay, so I could does that mean I could buy Pegasus if I have money? I could run or get Pegasus and run it on Joe Biden's phone and use this to blackmail him?
Yes, but then it's a cat and mouse game because Joe Biden has not one phone. He has like a bunch of phones, and he's not using it to send like too shady stuff around.
Puffer, I think you were trying to say something, or someone else.
No, it wasn't. But anyway, yeah, I saw a
I
video
think
on this. You're buying the date. You're buying like the data to like track a phone and where it goes, right? You're buying like the
first
ping
you have full
data.
access. You can read everything. You can access the microphone and the camera at all time when the phone is shut off. That's the like full access.
We need the Solana phone. Stat.
Solana is the one you're going with?
There are already phones.
All right, make the Ethereum phone. I'm just joking.
No, I mean, I
Yeah,
personally
wasn't there-
assume that all my software is spying on me, so I just kind of take that for granted. But I had heard that that point about like just generally, if you've ever installed an app, it's tracking everywhere you go and selling that data. Like there's been a lot of stories about that already. So I don't think there's any surprises that the phones are tracking. I just I'm curious about this because it's like really tough to design a system that only like allows the good actors in. Because whenever you have a system that allows the good actors in, then that means that the bad actors can and will get in. And when the bad actors can get in, they're like going to find ways to like steal money. They're going to find ways to like do horrible things like kidnap people. So it's like really tough to build these backdoors into systems in a way that like that only governments can access it. Like by way of example, like we had the like most of our transitions of power in America are fairly peaceful. Of course, like the most recent one was like the least peaceful one with like all the stuff going on with like January 6th and whatnot. Like if someone has like the keys to everyone's phone in the Oval Office and they don't want to hand over power, what's going to stop them from basically being like, no, I'm not giving up the keys? Like, how do you know that they gave up the keys when things transfer in that way? Like it can be like, because at the end of the day, like all the actors within the government are themselves like just people, and some people get corrupted. So how do you like build this in and ensure that only certain people, like you could theoretically build like a a Fed chain CBDC that where only like the nodes could be run out of like the Pentagon or something, and then they have like therefore root access. But it can be very difficult. So I'm just curious to hear your your thoughts on how to design a system that actually has these properties where only the good guys can get access to it and not the bad guys.
I think that full democracy is not a good thing. So, for example, if you look at let's say a family, and you start deciding everything with a vote, and you have 4 children, for example, then maybe it's not working.
No, and I don't think anyone says democracy is a good thing. Like I'm all for just a dictatorship where I run everything. I think that's the easiest solution.
That's what everyone thinks, yeah.
Like just give me all your private keys and everything will be fine. I'll stake it for you and give you 2% return.
It's a really interesting question. This how much governance do we want and do we need? And the intersection with crypto is such a new space. Maybe government in 100 years won't be people sitting in an Oval Office and drugging taxpayers' money. Maybe we'll just be reigned by smart contracts, AI systems, and we'll all hail to the machines. I think it's inevitable in a way, and maybe this will be crypto's legacy that it will control all of us. No, maybe there is a more positive aspect to it. Maybe we can redesign governance away from these possible corrupt actors.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think that the solution, this obviously like technology is changing things, and I think that in the same way that like the first nations that embraced freedom of religion as opposed to like demanding there be no freedom of religion, like it used to be God kings ruled by divine right, and then it was kind of considered like, oh, you're giving up the ghost if you allow people to like separate church and state. But the nations that separated church and state proved more durable. So my hypothesis is that some nations, hopefully the United States, are going to experiment with dissociating the state from money, and find that actually gives them more power if they exercise that separation in a smart way. So I think it's more likely to be another nation that probably like a nation that's kind of like off the political map at the moment, decides to embrace this. Like Central African Republic is like embracing Bitcoin as like their national currency. I could well see like over the course of 20 years, they just end up like, oh, look at that. Every other country collapsed and our economy is thriving. And all of a sudden, Central African Republic like becomes like Wakanda within Africa, because they're just like that much like more economically like outpacing everyone else. And as a result, like other countries start moving to that model. So I like Tikante, is like to your point, like I think that like the United States, if they figure out the CBDC and how to launch it in a way that actually like satisfies the needs of people, it could actually be a really good thing. So I've been trying my best to like figure out like how we can like push the United States towards smart and prudent like launching of a CBDC that actually fulfills these properties. And I don't know how to do it because I have no influence in the government. I'm not getting through. Like Biden doesn't return my calls unless I threaten him with a Pegasus.
Well, SBF just put us all back a few years with interacting with any kind of government official. So.
Oh, it's going to be the opposite. Yeah, exactly. They're going to come down with the boot while the space is like weakened. Like we're up against the ropes, and they're going to deliver the knockout blow if they can. I don't think they'll be able to, but
the CBDC actually is like, it's actually such a smart idea. It's what government wants, right? It allows them to take, for instance, like the PPP loans. Like when you're if you want to stimulate the economy, you can send people money that says, okay, this money is only to be used for food, gas, things like that. Like it's a level of control which you would think the government would be completely on board for. So I'm surprised that, there's not that no nation out there has gone ahead and just implemented it.
I don't think anybody capable of like operating that, any government.
The government is a real bad track
There's
record.
like L1s, there's like shitty L1s that pop up every day. They're just a bunch of like, Amazon servers running some L1, and they just fork the chain. So I mean, like Tikante was saying, NSA's got a bunch of math experts. Can't they just, knuckle down and do it? I would say that there's definitely probably a way, but yeah, you're right. It would it's a huge risk, right? They got to make sure they implement it well.
So the mistake I keep seeing governments make is like mistaking like the kind of like negotiation that has to happen between the government and the citizens. Because China tried a CBDC and the people didn't want it. So the United States could try and push it by force by saying like you have to adopt this, otherwise you won't be able to pay your taxes or something like that. But I really think that there's like needs to be more of a negotiation, because if the CBDC actually offered benefits to the citizens and had like sufficient privacy protections, I think people would actually embrace it. I don't think people are going to embrace it at the moment because like they're looking at kind of like forcing it onto the citizenry, and they are like not like negotiating in good faith. They're saying we need like all this power and we're going to force this on you. Whereas I think if they kind of like figure out what like powers they could give up to make it palatable to people, I think it could be voluntarily adopted. So like I've stated, my minimum is that like I would be willing to like consider accepting a CBDC if it was guaranteed that peer-to-peer transactions were always protected. They could never freeze my money. I could always send money to any of you in the chat if I needed to. Government may still be able to ban me from like buying groceries because they disagree with my political beliefs, but at the very least, like I'm not gonna have my funds frozen, and I could like beg someone here to be like, okay, yeah, I said something stupid, but please, could you buy me a loaf of bread? I'll send you $5. Please, please, please. And if they're like willing to like give up the power to brick my funds and the ensure that I had the freedom to transact peer to peer, I could accept like most of the more vile aspects of a CBDC. So that's kind of where I would be willing to draw the line. I don't see any indication that is where they are willing to draw the line. Like I see them as wanting to have a CBDC where they have complete authority to brick funds and restrict any payments. And I think that's going to be a non-starter for a large swath of the population, and it's going to make it tougher for them to get it off the ground, so they don't get any of the benefits. So that's kind of my overall take on where a CBDC could fit in. But I'm just one random one random person. So I see NPC 60. Oh, go ahead.
When do you join politics?
When do I join politics? Never. I got so many skeletons in that closet back there. There's no one's voting for me. And I wouldn't like the job anyway, so I'd never touch it. I once worked in politics, so I know what I'm talking about. Out of college. Everyone's idealistic out of college, right?
Yeah, it's funny, the 10 years after college.
Yeah, 10 years or so.
10 years of reality.
Yeah, it takes 10 years of getting your face stomped in by a boot for you to start to gain some real world experience, right? NPC 69. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say funny that the stablecoin market cap combined stablecoin market cap has not changed basically at all since the FTX.
I know, right?
Got DeFi Llama. Yeah, I mean, we wiped out. We wiped out 20% of the total market cap, which, I mean, to be honest, right, the total market cap is a volatile index. Is it really the right? Is it ever the right metric of something? It's the current price times the amount in circulation. It's not really. There's not really that much value. You could never unwind it. But the stable coin, if you go to stables and then overview, stables, there's still $150 billion of stables. And I think the longer it goes on, I think of this a lot. Garrett, you were mentioning about the Central Republic of the Congo. Is it was
CAR,
if they
Central African Republic?
Yeah, the Central Republic. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think that Bitcoin ever is going to be used as a currency. I don't think anybody ever wants to use a currency that's volatile. But what I think it would be is it's like treasuries. They're like treasuries between governments that they basically mint stable coins against, right? Just like they mint Eurodollars. That's the role I see Bitcoin playing in the 10, 20-year future, is that it's just this perfect collateral that people use to mint stable coins against. People want to exchange things that don't change in value. Like digital dollars is really the key one of the main key innovations in the space.
Yeah, although I don't necessarily agree that dollars don't change in value. We just don't notice them changing recently, or for most of history, because it was 1% to 2% per year, so it fell below our radar. But once it hits 10%, you start to notice. And Argentina, it's 50%, so everyone knows that's worthless, and that affects how things are priced in it. But I other than that, I'd take the point for sure.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what FPI tries to do, right?
Yeah, the Frex
price index.
Yeah, which is still pretty wild. I still don't understand that one. I need to get maybe we can get Sam as a guest to explain how exactly that works, because I don't get it. Yeah, it's wild to me that these stable coins are actually we're getting to the point where if Ethereum drops more and more, the market cap of stable coins on Ethereum is going to be significantly greater than the market cap of Ethereum itself, which is just crazy to me. Because these stable coins are sticking around; they're not going anywhere.
I mean, you're not the first person. I've heard a lot of people talk about the key point for Ethereum is when the applications on Ethereum are worth more than the protocol itself, right? So that's kind of what a similar concept.
Just tells me that Ethereum is badly mispriced, and it makes me bullish on Ethereum. Because once people realize that, then you're going to start to see 51% attacks against Ethereum itself. At which point, then the price goes up, so it needs to get drop significantly lower. Oh man, what a good discussion, everyone. If nothing else, like after kind of a grim week in terms of like not believing in cryptocurrency in times, like just getting to talk about these things with all of you is like great. I'll point to one last comment that came in from NPC 69, pointing to look at Robert Moses as a case study. And indeed, on NPC 69's recommendation, I've been reading through the book, The Power Broker, which has been just a phenomenal read. Highly recommend it to people. I think I'm going to be bouncing in just a few minutes here, though, because I have to prepare. I have a call at 11. So if anyone has any kind of final thoughts or points or questions they want to rush in here real quick, please.
I'm glad this community still exists. Saying what happened over the week, I totally agree, Garrett. I think the surprising thing is that so much has changed, and at the same time, I don't think a lot has changed. Not much has changed with refer to curve and stuff.
Yeah, look at the
So-
stablecoin market cap, and we're all still sitting pretty, right? Like we haven't nothing. It looks like it's ticked up, if anything. So
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm just happy to have found this community of like-minded individuals, and I'm excited to see what happens over the next few years.
yeah, excellent. Likewise. And next week's gonna be a big one. We're gonna have Naga King on, so brush up on your higher level math, because Naga King is a genius, and it's gonna be really fun to get down in the weeds of everything with him. So we'll have a time for that once Naga King gets back to me on time. But until then, let's. I will go ahead and kill the stream, and we'll keep. We'll have a little post stream powwow in here. All right, stream is killed.